Hello and welcome back to e-sipnayan. For today's video, we are going to discuss what is the value of p in a parabola. But before we proceed, do not forget to hit like and subscribe so that you'll be notified once we upload new videos. Here is the learning objective that hopefully we are going to achieve at the end of this video. That is, you should be able to identify the value of p. I'll be discussing now the most important measurement that we need for us to be able to graph a parabola, and that is the value of p. P is defined as the distance between the vertex and the focus, and also the distance between the vertex and a point perpendicular to the directrix. So shown here on the right is an illustration of the value of p. So if we measure the distance between V or vertex to F or the focus, that would be p units. And that will have the same distance when we measure the distance between V or the vertex and a point perpendicular to the directrix, which is at this point. So basically, the distances are equal. This is the formula in solving for the value of p. So since p is pertaining to a distance, it is always positive. Hence, in the formula, we will get its absolute value. So p here is equal to the absolute value of either positive or negative for p over p. So where are we going to get the value of for p? That will be obtained from the standard form. So we have four different equations or four different standard form of a parabola. So this one represents a parabola that opens to the right, the next one to the left, then the third one opening upwards, and the last one opening downwards. For p can be found on this side of our standard form. Usually, for p is denoted by a constant, or we can refer to it as the multiplier on the right-hand side of the equation. It's either x minus h or y minus k, or it is the one multiplied to the variable which is not square. So remember the formula, that will be positive or negative for p over 4. It's positive when we have a formula that opens to the right and up. It will be negative for p if we have the standard form which opens to the left or downward. So why are we dividing here by 4? Because definitely what's given initially on the standard form are all for p. If we want to isolate p or solve for p, then we need to cancel out the coefficient 4. Hence, whatever multiplier you'll be seeing here later on, you simply need to divide it by 4. Then if it is negative, you get the absolute value. Example number 1, we have quantity x minus 5 squared equals negative 24 times y minus 1. Now, the one highlighted in red font is for p. So, a while ago, it is symbolic or represented in mathematical notation for p or negative for p. But this time, it is now a multiplier to y minus 1. So, for p is negative 24. This is a parabola that opens downward because for p is negative. Now, how are we going to solve for p? So, for p here is equal to negative 24. Then we divide both sides by 4. That will be 4p over 4 equals negative 24 over 4. Hence, the value of p will become negative 6. And since p is always positive, because it's a distance, we simply get the absolute value of negative 6, which is positive 6. Therefore, the value of p in this first given equation is 6. Moving on, we also have another example, y squared equals negative 16x. Now, in this example, for p is denoted by the multiplier or coefficient negative 16. And this is an example of a parabola that opens to the left because y is squared and 4p is negative. Let's now solve for the value of p. So we identified that 4p is equal to negative 16. To solve for p or to isolate p, we divide both sides by 4. That will be now negative 16 over 4. Then simplifying the equation, p will be equal to negative 4. This is another case where p is negative, so we simply get the absolute value so that it will become positive. And that is how we solve for the value of p. Simply locate what is the multiplier on the right-hand side of the equation, or what is the number multiplied to the variable which is not squared. Then simply divide it by 4. For the next two examples, you can pause this video for a while, then simply solve for p on your own. Alright, so I hope that you were able to identify that 8 here pertains to the value of our p. So for p is equal to 8. To isolate p, divide both sides by 4, and then what happens next is we will be cancelling out 4. Therefore, p is equal to 8 over 4, or simply 2. Hence, the value of p for the first example is 2. Moving on to the next example, the value for p is negative. And if you cannot see any number there, it will be equal to 1. So, for p is equal to negative 1. We divide both sides by 4 to isolate p. Then we simply cancel out 4. Therefore, the value of p is negative 1/4. You can also have your answers in decimals, but to get the final answer, of course, we need to get the absolute value of the negative value of p that we have solved. Therefore, the value of p should be positive 1/4. Again, your answers can also be in decimal. Moving on, we have two more examples. You can pause this video and answer on your own. I hope you were able to identify that negative 12 is for p. So for p is equal to negative 12. We isolate p by dividing both sides by 4. Then we cancel out 4. Hence p is equal to negative 12 over 4. But since it's a negative number, again, we need to get its absolute value. Therefore, the value of p should be equal to 12 over 4, or simply 3. For the last example, the value for p is 24. So for p is equal to 24. And again, just like the previous examples, we just need to divide both sides by 4 so that we can cancel it out. And then we simply isolate p. So p is equal to 24 over 4, or simply 6. And that is all for this video. I hope you were able to understand how to identify the value of p. So again, you simply need to locate the multiplier or the constant multiplier and then divide it by 4. Make sure that it's always positive. That is all for this video. Thank you for watching and see you on the next one.